Episode 7 of CEAT Timeout. This is where it matters. Forget everything that's happened. Semi-finals week is upon us. And Matthew Hayden has always been my partner in crime here, but look what he's got in. He's actually added the standard of the show today.
Dragged in a bit of riffraff from South Africa.
Where did you find that, man? Welcome, Shaun Pollock.
Yeah, good to be. As soon as it was a South Africa versus Australia semi-final, we knew we had to come match up again.
Lay down was there, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, if you have to look ahead, let's go straight into that, right? South Africa are favourites, Shaun Pollock?
Yeah, we'll take it. The rain's probably favourite at this stage.
Yeah.
But,
South Africa won the rain.
Please don't, please don't. No one wants to decide
2
a
days
World
rained
Cup.
out. Does that mean we got through?
Yeah, that does. Unfortunately.
It's about time we had a bit of calm.
Success in the semi-final, you mean?
No, never mind. That rain, it works in our favour.
Whistle blown, shoo, quiet. Time for the top batter charts as we look at the CEAT batter ratings. And remember, these are the CEAT ratings designed specifically for this World Cup. And speaking of South Africa, Quinton de Kock is still bossing it. They need him to come good in a big semi-final. We also see Rachin Ravindra there. What a tournament he's had. Kohli's there too. Let's look at these players with an eye on the semi-final. They need Quinny to come good.
Yeah, don't mention the last two. They're from Australia, so we'll leave those ones out. South Africa at the top, that's great for us. It could be his last or second last one-day international. So he's been such a good player for us in this World Cup. And if he can just do it 2 more times, we'd really appreciate it. That left-handed combination as well at the top of the order is so vital for South Africa.
Glenn Maxwell had a nice day off. Expect him back.
Yeah, he'll come back for sure, yeah. And he's such a key, right? It doesn't matter how you look at Maxwell's performances with bat, with ball, he's handy. He's taken 5 wickets, which is not a lot, but they're all wickets through the middle where you've got that sort of 5th, 6th bowling option, which Australia have kind of struggled with a bit.
Okay, which batter is going to have the best semi-final? Pick one from each team. Batter to watch out for you?
Look, it has to be Davey Warner, really. And I think it has to be Davey Warner for Australia to have a big chance in this semi.
I'm going Quinny. Quinny's been good and he's going to come back to life.
Excellent. Let's look at the bowler chart, shall we? The top CEAT bowlers for the week, again, designed specifically with an eye on the Cricket World Cup. And Mohammad Shami, he's just chilling over there. Came in midway through the tournament, 3 games, 14, 15 wickets. Went wicketless against the Dutch, but that was fine. You understand the intensity of that game from the Indian bowlers. Adam Zampa is leading the wicket taker charts as we go into the semi-finals. Mitchell Santner and Ravindra Jadeja will have the chance to add 2, but Shaheen Shah Afridi and Dilshan Madhushankar won't. So from the names that we have mentioned, expecting more spin to dominate. I mean, we've seen a different Kolkata surface. Adam Zampa in line to become the leading wicket taker of the tournament.
Yeah, it turned a lot, didn't it, in that last match up there. So, especially in the second innings, Adam Zampa has been the key. Australia is not where they are in this tournament without Adam Zampa. That's how critical his performances have been.
Mohammad Shami leads that pack. We've got Shaun Pollock here for the first time. So let's just get your impressions of how you've enjoyed watching what we feel like is India's greatest ever set of seamers in a World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, there's no weakness in your 5-man attack. You know, you maybe have to go for a few overs with some other guys from time to time, but they all just take on that responsibility. Shami's been just unbelievable. But it's not unbelievable because, in all honesty, if you've watched him over the last 2 years, that's what he does. The biggest surprise was the fact that he wasn't playing. And then when you get him back, he's just a reminder of, hey, I'm good. I need to be here and I'm going to play my part, and he's done exactly that. Hits the seam, areas perfect. What more do you need?
I wanted to talk to you about that because his areas are quite short with the new ball, and then when he gets through a few overs, then he goes back up into that fuller range length, that sort of typical swing bowling length. What do you think makes him strong in that power play?
I think it's also the nature of the surfaces here. When you say short, you can hit 7 metres in India and the ball stays low enough to hit the top of the bails, particularly him being a skiddy customer. So he runs and hits that area hard. He doesn't have to venture too full. But in all honesty, they've also, once the ball's moving around, they have a wonderful ability to bring into play the stumps. They don't go wide, they target stumps, they target pads, and you have to take it from there.
Sport Drive performance of the week. Let's get straight into it. This is supposed to be your exclusive right, but since Shaun Pollock's there, I'm going to allow him to argue that choice with you.
Well, it's been an unusual. Well, it's probably been a week actually in this World Cup where everything's kind of like gone to plan. Maybe England-Pakistan game was one game where you thought maybe Pakistan...
It was part of the plan to send both of them packing home. So they've gone. Yeah.
Ta-ta both. But, you know, the rest of the games, who won, should have won. In this case, my player of the week is going to be Mitchell Marsh, 177. He bossed it around
Pollock's rolling his eyes.
Yeah, he
Against
would.
a formidable Bangladesh
He's
attack.
got to give it to an Australian.
Well, that's not true, is it? In fairness, that's not true.
I tell you, I'm going for. It's probably not hard on the list with the Brothers numbers. KL Rahul. That's the one part of the Indian batting lineup where I felt like he didn't really get to the crease enough. Really hasn't played as much of a part. And like, would he be feeling underdone heading into the semis? Well, with that 100, he's not underdone anymore.
Yeah, and his partner in crime, Shreyas Iyer, as well, had to be there in contention. You know, he's had quite a good tournament. Even when you think back to when we were having discussions around, is he going to be replaced? Well, no way. He's bossing the tournament now.
If you think back to last World Cup, number 4 was an issue for India.
Yep.
It's no longer an issue. He's playing nicely.
Well, then I almost assume if I ask you to predict the final, which is the next time that CEAT Timeout will be here, what will it be? India versus, or are we going for the unthinkable?
Are we not going to mention that? Are we not going to mention that New Zealand sometimes ruffle a few feathers when it comes to?
I wouldn't be surprised at all if New Zealand make it.
But I can't see them. I can't see them getting past India. India have been formidable.
So it's a 2-horse race between you and me, brother.
Ching, chong.
It actually should be one of those. I mean, semi-finals in Australia, a bit between the teeth. You can talk about all that stuff, but they have not been as dominant as South Africa in this World Cup. You know, so that makes us vulnerable. There's chinks in our armoury. Are they good enough on the day to put together? Is it a huge effort from a Mitchell Marsh or a Stoinis? You know, potentially, is he even going to play? But our bowling as well has been vulnerable. It's it's not like any one of our bowlers, apart from Zampa, has dominated with the ball.
Very hygienic response you're giving.
Well,
I expected
I mean,
you
if
to
you
just
want
say
me
we'll
to,
smash
if you want me
them.
to just say Australia, I go, yeah, Australia. But I really don't believe that this time. I think it's going to be a
that's
very
fair.
good semi-final.
Yeah, I think the key whoever bats first. I think whoever wins the toss and decides to bat first will be in the pound seats. It's like the Olympics. You know, you got those heats where you can break the world record in the heats. And there's been a couple of world records broken by both teams in the way they've played last 10, 200,
Yeah.
But it counts for nothing. You've still got to get in the semi and produce that race again. And then you've got to go into the final and produce that race again. So it is a bit in the sky, but I'm going to go for South Africa. Haydos is going to go for Australia, and we'll see who's right.
Yeah, who bats first is key for that second semi-final. Is it as important for the first one? Let's talk about India, New Zealand here. Because all of a sudden, India like to bat first. They started the tournament as a chasing team. But then New Zealand, with their seamers, under lights. Polly, thoughts?
Yeah, I think New Zealand, I mean, they wear black, and we can definitely say dark horse because, they keep coming up in these semi-finals and getting to the final. They've got a side on the day. If they click, they can be special. They've got enough bowlers who can make inroads up front. They've got batting that can knock off scores or post decent scores. So you definitely can't look past them. But I battle to see India, the way they've played. I suppose the only thing is this is the first time India face the possibility of relegation and being knocked out.
How do they deal with that?
How do they deal with that extra pressure? I mean, the expectation will be they're used to that. They're used to the big crowd. They're used to the noise. But just sometimes in those big games, you start to think, if it doesn't go according to plan, we're out of here. And the way they've played, they don't deserve to be. But that doesn't count for anything, as we've mentioned.
And the only way that can happen is Trent Bolt has a blinding day because
Which he's more than capable of. Yeah.
He is, and he hasn't quite made the impact that we've seen in this tournament so far. Unlike Madhushankar, most of the other left-armers, have not had that kind of World Cup. So for me, he gets 2-3 wickets inside that power play, and then the pressure starts to come on that middle order. That's been cruising, really. KL Rahul cruising around, Shreyas Iyer cruising around because he's had this giant base. So Trent Bolt has a day out. India bat, I think. In a big game, they want runs, scoreboard pressure, they want crowd pressure, they want nation pressure. But if they have a day out, with the ball in that second innings, they could be under pressure.
I think Bolt is key. I think, and the reason why, obviously, he's played for Mumbai Indians, he knows that surface pretty well. And what we've seen at Wankhede in this tournament so far, first 10 overs, if you bat first, is something you have to look after. Just nips around, stands up. We've seen teams battle. But once they get past that, then they can post big. So once again, it's going to go down. Who would bowl those first 10 overs? If it is New Zealand, it'll be Bolt, and whether he can make inroads.
Yeah, he has fond memories of the last semi-final. And Kane Williamson will feature this time, missed the league stage game between these two teams. But in all fairness, we're just discussing this because we're almost pushing ourselves towards thinking what is a team's best chance to upset India.
Yeah.
It would be a shock of an upset regardless. While we expect New Zealand to do well, standard of which India has played, you don't expect them to have a bad day. There are more there's more to this team than what we saw in 2019, Polly.
Yeah, I mean, when Pandya was knocked out, you thought, well, who's going to replace it? But it's all gelled so well. I mean, they've taken the responsibility as batters. They've taken the responsibility as bowlers, just using the 5. And who's the weakest link? When you have a look around there, who is the weakest link? Who's the one that you could maybe identify like someone we could point a finger at and try and put them under immense pressure? There's not. They've all kind of done their job as well as they possibly could. So it would be a big surprise, but that's why we love this game.
But so talking about that from a batting sense from New Zealand, then you go, okay, well, who is that the weakest link? And so for me, Mohammad Shami is that person that actually, if Devon Conway has a day out and Rachin Ravindra also can really sort of target someone inside those first 15 overs, that would be my option. There's no way I'm going after Boom Boom. You know, he's just doing too much with the ball. And we also know that Mohammad Suraj can travel because he's hunting wickets. You know, so the reality is then you go to the middle order and you're thinking, okay, Kuldeep Yadav maybe. You know, so there's not an obvious hole, but there has to be some thinking, some real dominant thinking from New Zealand, because it's an upset of note that this would happen. So you've got to be thinking about, well, okay, how am I going to make that happen?
All right. Well, it's still expecting someone to just play their perfect game and hope that it's just a little better than that of India's, right? Thank you very much to Shaun Pollock and Matthew Hayden. You still have both said India favourites, and it could be Australia or South Africa, depending on who bats first in Kolkata.
Paper, scissors, rock.
But this was great fun. Please bring him back next time.
He's
I enjoyed this a lot more. I enjoyed with you too.
Yeah.
But Shaun Pollock, thank you very much.
All good.
Matthew Hayden, see you again soon. See all of you soon at the end of the World Cup on CEAT Timeout.